Hey everyone, welcome to the main event. My name is Joe Tillman, and you are on YouTube's one and only The Hair Transplant channel. Make sure my sound is coming through. Looks like everything is good. Awesome. How's everyone doing today? It's Thursday, May 11th, 2023, and do apologize for the delay. Thank you for your patience. I was putting together the thumbnail for today's show, and then I got a text message from the one and only Anand at Hair Loss Cure 2020, and started reading what he was sending me. It's like, you know what? Maybe I should change up the subject for today's show. Before I do that, who am I and what am I doing behind this microphone? My name is Joe Tillman, and I've been in the hair transplant industry for 20 years, starting off as a repair patient, having had some bad surgery almost 30 years ago, twice over, and got repaired, got so excited about it, started working for the clinic that turned me around, and here I am 20 years later. I am working independently, not working for any single clinic. I do work with multiple clinics and doctors worldwide. On multiple levels, I go to their clinics and I review them to make sure that they meet a higher standard that I've based on my own experience, education, and what I think is important for people to understand. But I also work with them behind the scenes. I help them to craft a better educational experience. I do a lot of things with some of these clinics, some not so much, but I put out these videos where I talk about these clinics and why I feel they are worth your consideration. So at some point, like, they don't sponsor the show. No one sponsors the show. I do this on my own. I do this of my own free will with no payment, no financial incentive to do it. I just like talking to you guys and helping you out. But check them out. Check out the doctors I work with, because I feel they're all deserving of your attention, at least at some point, if and when you do get to the point of seriously considering hair transplant surgery. So check them all out at hairtransplantmentor.com. You can learn all about them over there. Today's subject is something that I was thinking about how to talk about this earlier. I'm generally not too excited about future treatments. And when I do want to read up, I do head over to hairlosscure2020.com, because I do consider it to be the de facto standard outlet for this type of hair loss related information, news, if you will. And so, you know, a lot of claims have been made over the years about different things coming out, and everything's in trial. Everything's in phase 1 trial. Everything's in phase 2 trial. Very few, almost no items get through phase 3 trials and manifest as a product that you can purchase through prescription or off the shelf or whatever. And we're seeing a change, excuse me, with that. And it all started with Cosma RNA, which I did a video about, a week and a half ago. And it's reflected, this change is actually reflected in an article that is found on Hair Loss Cure 2020 as of today, about the shortening development times and the time to market for products. And I skimmed over it, and he's got some good points in there. He's talking about the short evolution and to market time of things like the vaccine that everyone was taking for a while, and I think that's an extenuating circumstance. But there is potential, and we're seeing that with products like Cosma RNA, where they're bypassing the traditional phase 1, phase 2, phase 3 trials. They're leapfrogging it and taking off. The company itself only formed a few years ago. I think in 2016. I could be wrong. You guys can feel free to fact check me on that. I think it's 2016. Might have been even more recent than that. And they've already got a product on the market as of last week, with potentially, verifiable claims. We'll see. We'll verify it soon. I saw some people online saying that they got notification that their shipments are now en route. So everyone's excited about Cosma RNA, but they're not the only game in town. There's another product by a company called Kintor, based out of China. And they just finished phase 2 trials of their product. And like I said, I haven't been paying attention, but as of today, I am, because I think it's interesting what's going on. And I'm just going to go ahead and read to you. This is brand new as of today, May 11th, 2023. Kintor Pharma announced the successful completion of phase 2 clinical trial of KX826 for treatment of androgenic alopecia in the United States. Now, they've had 2 trials going on at roughly the same time, one in China and one in the States. And I think the outcome is interesting. They're based in Suzhou, China, May 11th, 2023. Kintor Pharmaceutical, a clinical stage biotech company developing blah, blah, blah. Results of the phase 2 clinical trial showed that KX826 promotes hair growth compared to baseline and demonstrated statistical and clinically meaningful as measured by target area non-vellus hair count, THAC. KX826 has indicated an improvement in THAC versus placebo, and a dose-response relationship was observed from different KX826 dosage groups. I think that's interesting in and of itself. The phase 2 clinical trial is a randomized, double-blind, placebo-controlled, and parallel group study designed to evaluate the efficacy and safety of KX826 for the treatment of male AGA. A total of 123 male androgenic alopecia patients who were classified into stage 3 vertex, 4, or 5 using the Hamilton-Norwood scale were enrolled in the phase 2 clinical trial. This is in the U.S., by the way. Among them, 93 patients were randomly assigned to different dosage groups, including 0.25% once daily, 0.5% QD twice daily, or once daily, 0.5% QD, and then 0.5% twice daily, BID. And 30 patients were randomly assigned to placebo groups receiving different dosages. That's important. That sounds proper. The results showed that the THAC of the 0.5 BID group has increased by about 10 hair counts per centimeter square compared with baseline after treatment of 24 weeks, which was statistically significant. It is. KX826 has indicated an improvement in THC versus placebo, and a dose-response relationship was observed from different dosage groups. Other relevant results indicated that KX826 promotes hair growth clinically in male AGA patients. Same with the phase 2 clinical trial in China. This is what gets interesting to me. 0.5% twice daily, KX826 was determined to be the optimal dose in the phase 2 clinical trial. 0.5% BID, KX826 was also determined to be the recommended dose for phase 2 clinical trial for male AGA in the US and globally. It demonstrated a favorable safety profile in male AGA treatment. In our study, most of the treatment emerged adverse events were mild and local scalp sensitivity, similar to those of placebo in terms of occurrence. Looking for the... did I miss that? What I find interesting is in the Chinese portion of this study, for the U.S., they noted 10 hair units. I'm not sure what qualifies as a unit. I believe they're talking about hair shafts poking through. 10 per square centimeter was the improvement. In the Chinese study, it was 22 per square centimeter. Now, some of you may be thinking, that's really not a big deal. I don't know. Maybe you are, maybe you're not. But here's the way I look at it, coming from an extensive surgical background. When you have a low-density transplant, say that you're going over a large area, we'll say a Norwood 5A. 5A meaning that the entire top is gone, the crown not quite so much. The crown is still pretty healthy. If you get 22 grafts per square centimeter, that would provide a really big improvement for the patient. That would be enough hair to comb or to style, brushing it back, left, right, even forward. It would be somewhat see-through. It would look like a diffused hair loss situation, but with terminal hair, which is a big difference compared to actual diffused patterns of hair loss where all the hair in the pattern is actually miniaturized. So there's a big difference between a result with terminal versus miniaturized hairs. So if you got 22 hairs per square centimeter sticking out of the scalp on a Norwood 5 after any sort of treatment, that would be a big night and day difference. That would make a lot of people happy. So when you see that this is what they're achieving through a experimental treatment, that's exciting. Now, is it accurate? Like, can we trust this? I don't know. That's the problem with new emerging treatments. We don't know the legitimacy. Like, obviously, the company is going to make an announcement in their favor to keep everyone happy. Shareholders, you, the people that are following this, hoping to, get your hands on a supply. But that's a big deal if it's true. And then you look at the U.S. study, 10 hair units per square centimeter. That's an incredible boost to a transplant. So if you have a transplant, again, using the Norwood 5A analogy, and you have X number of grafts to get a result, and let's say it's 40 grafts per square centimeter in the front and a gradual decrease towards the back, because that would be a lot of hair. You have a treatment like this that increases the affected area by 10 hair units, whatever that's supposed to mean, by per square centimeter. That can really put a result over the top as far as a good result to a pretty damn good result. So I look at it in those kinds of terms. The differences that you see in a surgery with these kinds of numbers, because I think that's the easiest way to quantify it. Now, is this all legitimate? We hope so. They're looking at, I think it said in the article, they're talking with the FDA about phase 3. So I think that's interesting. Hair Loss Cure 2020 is in the chat room. He says Kintor has two products, an alpha reductase antagonist and alpha reductase or androgenic receptor degrader, androgenic receptor antagonist. Yeah, that's true. For AGA, and each is being trialed in both U.S. and China, so 4 iterations at different stages. Yeah, more trials for females. Yeah, I saw that as well. But yeah, so let's talk about that. Like, if you're interested in this. Well, that didn't take long. I think I know who this is. Hey, you're on the main event. What's your name? Where are you calling from? I guess they changed their mind. Anyway, that means the line is open. Toll free, 833-563-4247. If you want to talk about Kintor Pharmaceuticals or Kintor Pharma and the latest phase 2 trial results that were just released today, Thursday, May 11th, 2023, give me a call. Let's talk about it. I'd like to know what you think about it. If you're excited by it, let me know. If you think it's another waste of our time to even be paying attention, let me know that as well. Since as long as I can remember, I've been on the latter camp in that regard, where I think it's all a waste of time. But I have to admit, I think Cosma RNA kind of changed things for me. I'm kind of excited. I won't say excited. I'm interested. And for me to be interested in this kind of thing is a big deal for me. Like, that's a big change. Because you've heard me in the past, or you may have heard me in the past, talk about how I'm not a fan of wasting my energies researching this kind of thing and debating these things online. That's a big problem I have with this stuff, is people in online groups actually battling this stuff out as if they know anything about what's going on in these trials or, at these companies. They don't know shit. They know nothing. I know there's one case where a supposed participant in a study actually went on Reddit and said, I'm a participant in a study and this is what's going on. Oh, I'm sure that was exciting. But in general, it's anyone saying anything about this as if they have any sort of authority or inside track is just lying. They're just pulling your leg. I don't understand why, but they don't have an inside track. No one does. So that's why I've always been dismissive of this kind of information. But lately, with the Cosma RNA development, it actually came to market. It's actually shipping. It's actually en route to the first, maybe, lucky people, lucky hair loss sufferers. We'll see. But after that, we've got Kintor, and there's some other products as well. And Anand on Hair Loss Cure 2020 has an article about I mentioned this before at the top of the show, about the potential shortening of wait times for us, the consumer, where it would be about 9 years for a product to go through all the trials and clearances to get FDA approval. Now, it's a fraction of that. If we're looking at examples recently in the past couple of years. So let me know. Of course, we can talk about anything else. It is a call-in show. I'm not going to just be sitting here answering questions from a silent chat room. I'll answer a few. But give me a call. It's toll-free, 833-563-4247 in North America. That's Mexico, USA, and Canada. And, of course, worldwide on a Skype or any other calling app that you want. I will go to the chat room for a bit. But, if I don't get any calls, it's 3:25. I've been on for just under 20 minutes, running a little bit late. I will take off. I got a lot of stuff going on. My contractor, 2 walls over right now, is almost finished. That close. So I'm excited by that. So, Milk Drinker, why do they sometimes say androgenic and other times they say androgenic and androgenetic? Really irks me. I'm there, buddy. I've seen that. It is kind of annoying. Let's see, even guys. Oh, hey, Lars Ride Jeppesen. Nice to see you. Thank you. Does FUT method affect native hair or blood flow of scalp? That's from Blivik Shinobi. That's interesting. You guys have some of the weirdest names. Does it affect native hair or blood flow of the scalp? It does. It does. Blood flow of the scalp interruption is what causes some forms of shock loss. And the other part of the question was, it does affect native hair. If it's performed poorly, it can cause shock loss, which is, it's all related. The hairs that are along the scar line are distorted underneath. So it can cause a slight increase in transection rates when taking out a second strip. But usually it's pretty minimal, assuming everything across the board is good. Let's see. Sergey in the chat room. Pyrolutamide was kind of expected to make it through phase 2 trials. The question is, will it surpass finasteride in efficacy with real patients in practice? Only time will tell. Of course. Yeah, only time will tell. What I like about some of these potential treatments is the lack of the side effects, supposedly, that we're seeing in 5-alpha reductase inhibitors, which is why everyone's afraid to take them. The safety profile and the side effects seem to be completely different with these new medications. But again, we don't know for sure until people actually start taking them out in the wild. Let's see, Milk Trick, I'm skeptical of all new treatments, but even if a few of them work, it will make a big difference. Of course. Absolutely. All it takes is one good treatment. And someone asked yesterday, I think, if we were to combine, or if they were to combine Cosmo RNA with finasteride, would that make sense? Based on the limited knowledge that we have right now, sure, of course. I would agree. I would think it would be. Regenerative medicine is going to become huge in the next decade. It is, not just for hair. I saw another headline that caught my attention, that RNA therapies, a particular RNA therapy blocking one molecule, could be the fountain of youth, could reverse aging, of all things. I didn't read it. I don't have time to read everything I see. I get inundated with so many headlines that are so interesting to me throughout my day. Some, personally interesting, some professionally interesting, some both. I just don't have the time. I'm trying to think about how to use AI to. I think you can use ChatGPT 4 for this, to maybe even 3.5, to summarize all these articles for you, just to give you the talking points, which would be interesting. Let's see. Joe, after the whole scamdemic situation, I am forever a skeptic about RNA therapies. Yeah, no, I get that. A lot of people would be. Joe, who cares if it's shipping? Is it working? No, of course. Well, you got to care if it's shipping, because it tells you that there's news to come, that it's real. It's legit as far as being a product. So we know. Does FUT thin the donor or reduce the height of the borders around it? Well, of course it will. There's conflicting information even among some of my doctors that it thins the donor. It does, the way I understand the physics behind elasticity, because that's what we're dealing with. It can thin the areas above and below the donor scar, because that's closest to the source of the stretch. But as you go further up or further down, the spacing between grafts will become less, and that relaxes over time due to the way that skin regenerates due to constant tension, which is what it is essentially. That's a whole subject. Let's see. Excuse me. Neil Adams. Oh, this might be good. I was talking to a hair transplant consultant in the gym this morning. Just did a horse and a priest walk in too? Just curious. This morning he says he takes a quarter of 5 milligram minoxidil. Okay, so he takes 1/4 of oral minoxidil, 5 milligrams. He says 5 milligrams is way too much. What do you think? Well, that's not the standard that doctors today are prescribing. Most of them are prescribing 2.5, and then some patients are cutting that in half, which would be the same thing that your workout buddy / hair transplant consultant is doing. It used to be prescribed in the original dosage of 10 milligrams. That's the way it used to. That was a standard dosage of Lonitin, which is the original form of oral minoxidil. But and then it went down to 5. People were cutting it in half, and now 2.5 is the preferred dosage recommended by doctors that have experience with it. So hope that answers your question. By the way, yeah, phone calls. I'm not hearing them. I will be leaving. I'm going to give you guys about, it's 3:33 and 10 seconds right now. I'm going to give you guys about 5 minutes to let those calls start coming in. If not, then I am out of here. Until then, let's see. More questions. You should talk to Dr. Aubrey de Grey about regenerative medicine and hair aid. I've got some doctors on deck that I'm talking to about coming in to talk about different things. Not just surgery. Surgery is my passion. I really love surgery. That's why I know so much. But the regen medicine stuff, I think, is something that a lot of you would be interested in. I'm trying to create a variety of topics for specialists to come on and talk to you about and to answer your questions directly. And let me know what you guys think of that. Down in the comments section, not in the chat room, but down in the comments section, those of you that are watching now live and those of you who are watching during the replays, let me know what you think. Do you like the idea of these doctors I'm bringing on? And do you like the idea of creating variety with researchers coming on, things like that? I've got one commitment so far on that. I won't say who it is yet. And I expect to get more, where I'll be able to have a Q&A session with them, kind of long form, but you guys will be able to interrupt and ask your own questions directly. So let me know what you think of that. In the meantime, let's see, Neil Adams, Google search first result for term I put in, it says finasteride equals 10 plus hairs. Okay, not sure what you're saying there. You should talk to, see, Neil Adams, I would say 2.5 is a sweet spot. Yeah, that's what I was saying. Scalp massage, legitimate method of promoting hair growth? No. Full stop. Joe, is there any chance that you can get Dr. Rahal from Ottawa to come on your show? Maybe eventually. I'm limiting the surgical doctors that come on to Hair Transplant Mentor members right now. He's not a member, but we'll see. Maybe he'll finally pony up and apply. We've talked. I got his number right here. We talk, but we'll see. We'll see how that works out. Let's see. Laugh out in the Adams. How does Dr. Zarev seem to get such great results without even using loops, apparently? Oh, he uses loops. I've seen he uses loops. No one has that kind of eyesight. Part of the reason why Dr. Zarev has gotten attention is because, number one, he's the most detail-oriented doctor I've ever seen when it comes to the consultation and making calculations, right there in front of the patient about how much he's taking from each area of the scalp and how that translates to where he's placing it in the recipient area. He does all the work himself. And the numbers issue, that's not rocket science. Getting that many graphs out, that many being whatever he's getting for his patients, because, just large numbers, these super ridiculous extra giga whopper hair transplant sessions. It's not rocket science. He's just taking hair from the entire expanded donor area, and he's calculating in each square centimeter how many he can take without causing too much of a thinning effect in that particular area. So, you look at the hair caliber, the diameter of each hair shaft, if you're actually going to measure those, and you look at how many is in each section of the scalp, and you can calculate based on certain parameters how much is too much to take before it starts to look thin. And some doctors use that 50% rule, which if you're not familiar with the 50% rule, the idea of thinning is that you can lose up to 50% of your hair before you even notice that you're thinning. I don't agree with that. And in fact, the original or the source for that information, it's being misquoted. It's not actually 50%. It's a range of 40 to 60%. So just to correct that misunderstanding, that false information that's been floating around for 15 years, it's 40 to 60% of your hair before you start to notice thinning. Even that is variable based on what the patient brings to the table as a set of characteristics. But he's using something along those lines as a baseline for making his calculations, and it's just a work ethic. Like, he's sitting down and he's doing these marathon sessions, and then patient comes back and he does it again to get 8, 9, 10, 12,000 grafts, not in one sitting. Like, it's and the patient comes back later on to have a second session to get those numbers. So it's not rocket science. It's just passion, dedication, and coming at it from a safe, arguably a safe and careful approach. if that makes sense. I think it does. Did someone use a USG to check what angle are plagiografts? I don't know what USG is. What angle are plagiografts in hairline, or USG will not help to check what is going on under the scalp? I don't know what you're talking about, Chris. See, David Anthony, when you had your first procedure back in the day, did they set any expectations for what to expect months, years after the procedure, or did they just do some hair plugs and call it a day? Great question. I actually mentioned this yesterday, I believe, or maybe it was the day before, where the expectation was that my natural hairline would continue to recede as I aged, which was, it's a very responsible thing to say. It's a very responsible approach, or at least it sounds like it is. And then I would recede into the hairline that he created for me that wasn't a hairline at the time. It was placed behind my hairline. So the idea was I'd recede into it, and then my hair loss would appear to stop, and that would be my new hairline. So, of course, I couldn't see what it looked like after it grew in because my native hairline was in front of it. But I saw real fast because my native hairline, after it started to grow in, fell out quickly, partially due to shock loss. But the only long-term expectation, aside from that was given to me, was during my second surgery when I asked my first intelligent question: what's going to happen when I lose more hair? And he looked me dead in the eyes and he said, "You won't lose more hair, at least not till you're about 50. Hello. Here I am at 53, and I've had 8 more surgeries. So, yeah, I was really, I wasn't aware of the realities of the world when I was 22, like I am now. So, yeah, I was one of those cases. I was one of those people that, you're taught to trust your doctor. The person in the white coat, that is automatically a sign that they deserve respect and trust. And it's instilled in us from childhood, always trust your doctor. It wasn't until later on that I realized that that's a crock of shit. So anyway, life lesson learned, so on and so forth. Let's see. Milk Drinker, does this mean that Zarev is making more efficient use of the donor than other docs? Some docs, yeah. Yeah, I still see work from some doctors where they take all the grafts that they're taking just from the very back of the scalp without going up on the sides. That is an inefficient use of grafts because you don't know what kind of visual impact it's going to have on the donor area. You don't know if it's going to wind up being too thin. I think that taking an approach where you're utilizing the sides and the back, even for smaller surgeries, it greatly reduces any sort of possibility of there being evidence of FUE surgery, depletion, or anything like that. The idea of any demarcations being visible is gone if it's done right. Let's see. Sorry, Joe. My son Quentin hung up on the phone. Quentin Gamer. Oh, no worries. You can call back, Quentin, if you want. Toll free 833-563-4247. Toll free in North America. It's strange when I'm trying to, I got my MacBook Pro over here. If I'm not touching it for a while, it goes into the screensaver pops up. And when I'm in my studio here, my fingerprint reader, it doesn't work. I have to hit enter, and with one hand, I have to type in my very long password to get in. In my editing studio, when it's hooked up to my wireless Mac Pro keyboard, because I used to have a Mac Pro, the fingerprint reader on my wireless keyboard works fine. Actually, it's a new one, yeah, because Mac Pro, I sold that one. And it works fine. Just confusing. That's why I'm sitting here with one hand typing. That's what I'm doing, putting in the password again. So anyway, Toll free, 833-563-4247. I did say I was going to give it 5 more minutes, and that was over a couple minutes ago. So I'm getting some good questions in the chat. I will continue to answer a few questions, but I am going to hang up if I don't get any phone calls. So let's see. I know that Dr. Rahal is not a member of your professional association. He's one of the few whose reputation doesn't necessarily need to benefit from your highly rated professional association. You know, that's an interesting comment, and I agree. I think that, you know, it's how can I put this? It's not about benefiting from being a member of my organization. It's a collaboration. Like, I work with each of these clinics. That's why I'm so busy during the day before I do the show and in between these videos. In fact, I've not uploaded a video like where I've recorded it, edited, like I do with my hair transplant classes in quite a while, because I've been so busy working with these clinics. And I used to work at Dr. Rahal's clinic, so I know, I know these things. And it wasn't to imply that he needs to be a member, but, you know, there is a benefit to membership. You want to be on the show? You got to be a member. At least for now. We'll see. Anyway, John Henry Lalanjaman. I love that name, bro. Hey, Joe, I'm 2 months into my hair transplant journey, and I noticed that my hair is noticeably worse than my pre-hair transplant hair. I only had grafts implanted in my hairline. Yeah? Welcome to shock loss, my friend. That's the way it works. It's not going to be relegated to just the area that your grafts were placed into. It can and will affect areas not in the immediate surgical region. It's just an interruption of blood flow, and the vascular system throughout your scalp it's all interconnected. And it happens often where you have hairline work and a lot of your hair behind it also thins out. Just stay the course. Just be understanding of your situation. This is normal. Don't get too irritated. Don't get too worried about it. Just give it the time it deserves to do what it's going to do. And part of that doing is recovering from shock loss. So it should be fine. Don't worry too much about it. Yes, I know. My dog was just barking. Next question. I think FUEs outnumber FUTs 50-1 these days because ISHRS docs apparently do 75% FUE, but they're outnumbered by mills massively, and mills only do FUE. Sure. Let's see. What advice do you give doctors that they most often ignore? I don't know what you're talking about. Let's see. Yeah, we need Poet to call the show and tell his story. Yeah, he's got a great story. I mentioned him in a recent episode. I met him a few times, and we stayed in touch for a while, and then we lost touch for a while, and off and on over the past almost like 18 years, I think. He's just such a nice guy. Like, he's just a genuine, one of the few people where you finish talking to him, and you're like, that's a really nice guy. Sergey, some clinics do horrible FUT too. Okay, yeah, you guys are having your conversations. Yeah, okay. So no real questions to me. There's a lot of good comments amongst yourselves. Let's see. Nico, can BHT work well for a darkening effect even if growth may be weak and or inconsistent in texture? Sure. Yeah. You mean like a thickening effect, not so much a darkening effect, I believe would be a better reference. Yeah, I mean, if you got some, well, you're adding hair, so of course it's going to help. It's just how much help will there be? And even if the survival rate was 100%, the hair shaft diameter is usually finer on, say, chest hair than scalp hair, so you got to still have more graft for graft to get the same result that you would with scalp hair. But yeah, I mean, it can help for sure. Okay, final question. Mike Pedroza says, how many grafts for each Norwood level? I think as a Norwood scale increases, I think that it goes up from roughly 1,000 grafts per Norwood level on up to 1,500 grafts per Norwood level. But it also depends on the hair type, the caliber, diameter, hair color to scalp color, contrast ratio, things like that. But that's a general rule that I came up with just based on observations, because it also depends on expectations, because one man's good coverage is another man's not enough coverage. I'm sure you understand that. So it's highly variable. It's highly subjective, but in most cases, I think that would be a fair number to go with. So if you're looking at a Norwood 5, then you're looking at, gosh, if we stick with a 1,500 per Norwood level, that's 7,500 grafts. But because it's a grading scale, say up to 3,000, a Norwood 3, that's 3,000 grafts. So then that extra 2 Norwood levels will be an extra 1,000 grafts. So about 6,000 grafts for a Norwood 5. Anyway, yeah, we could talk about that forever. Anyway, guys, I'm going to wrap this up. No phone calls. I'm surprised. But I appreciate all the support in the chat room. Lots of questions there. Be sure to hit the like button to let me know that you give a shit about me being here. I enjoy talking to you guys. I enjoy talking about this surgery. I think that this Kintor thing is potentially another glimmer of hope. And I say that because I like seeing that in a phase 2 trial, they're getting results. Now, again, this is grains of salt here, people, or pinch of salt. It may be nothing, and it may not materialize, may not manifest into an actual product, but we'll see. All we can do is wait. With that said, everyone, I'm out of here. Thanks for watching. Tune in tomorrow for Spencer Coburn's The Bald Truth with me, Joe Tillman. We'll see you tomorrow.